Përshëndetje and welcome to Inside Albania with me, Alice Taylor. This week I'm joined in the studio by Ben Blushi. He's my former director here at Euronews, but he's also one of Albania's most well-known photographers and authors. We're going to be discussing his latest exhibition, his literary work and inspiration, and a bit of his past in politics as well. I also had the chance to visit Durrës this week and to go aboard the historic Italian naval training vessel, the Mbrojtjes Pirro. Now, I was there and I was interviewing Defence Minister Pirro Vengu on regional security, the recent Kosovo-Albania-Croatia defence agreement, and the revitalisation of the local defence sector. I also pitched my idea for a name for the new patrol vessel, which was gifted to Albania by Italy. Ben, welcome to Inside Albania. As you just said, you are the godfather of this podcast. We started this when you were the director of Euronews, so it's only right that I invite you here today.
I'm glad you accepted. Finally.
Now, let's look back. Over your career, you've worn many hats. You've been a politician, you've been a media mogul, you are a very successful writer, and you are a very well-known photographer as well. Which role do you think defines you best overall, and maybe now, maybe they're different?
First of all, because we're going to speak about it later, I think, I'm not a photographer. I'm just a curious guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm someone who likes to see people and to shoot them. Because by shooting them, I got to recognize their faces and I get to know their characters and what do they do in life. So I'm not a photographer, so this is not one of my new hats.
But what's the difference for you? What is a photographer then compared to a curious guy with a camera? What's the difference?
A photographer is somebody taking it professionally. Mm-hmm. So he lives by it. I don't live by photography. I just enjoy it. You know, it helps me get to know people in Albania a little bit and other countries where I've been for shooting. So it's just a curiosity. I just want to wander to see people and to get to recognize them, to understand how they feel, how they cry, when they cry, why they cry, how they walk, how they live in general. This is how I use the photography.
And documenting a moment in time, perhaps as well. This country's changing very quickly.
Depending. But what I do, I mean, I'll probably explain it later, but I can do it now. What I do is street photography, it's called. Mm-hmm. It's called street photography. It's a kind of different photography when comparing to taking people in the studios and telling them what to wear, not to wear, what glasses to have, how to smile. You know, you might be upset and you have to smile when you go to the studio.
Yes.
In the street, people, they don't know me. Sometimes they don't see me at all. Mm-hmm. I can shoot them from 200 meters, they don't see me at all. Sometimes they see me, but they're just ordinary people. They do whatever they like. Sometimes they say no. They don't want me to shoot them.
This is what I was going to ask. Have you ever had a moment where you've been like, oh, this is the best picture, and you take it?
Not too many, but I had sometimes. Yeah. I had some quarrels sometimes, especially in some wild areas of Albania.
Yes.
Where people said, please don't shoot us, and they were getting angry at me. But most of the time they know me, so they accept.
Yeah. So again, the question: if you're not a photographer, you're a curious guy with a camera.
I like to be a writer. This is my biggest hat. I mean, the most enjoyable one. And this is what I enjoy most. And I do almost every day now.
Was it something you did from a young age, or that came later in life?
No, I was growing up with that kind of will or desire or wish, because I'm viewing other writers in my family. My grandfather and my father were writers also, and I've been seeing them since I was a kid. And this is what I had. I mean, I was always dreaming to do it, and I'm doing it finally, and I'm enjoying it.
And getting to combine
I have a book each year, almost now.
Yeah, this is what I was going to say. You're prolific. You write fast.
Luckily enough, yes.
Yeah.
I can write a book in a week, which happened to my last book. I published a book last year on artificial intelligence, and it was written in probably 10 days. Wow. It was very fast.
But is that like?
But not always.
9 a.m. till 6 p.m. solid writing, or?
No. There is. I mean, probably the process of writing now, it is becoming a little bit more slow. Probably might because of age. I don't know. I mean, I used to write even 10 pages a day. and now it goes from 1 to 2. When I'm very lucky, 3.
Yeah.
My mind is working on other things. This is how I explain it.
Do you ever get writer's block? I get it sometimes. Some days I can write 10,000 words. I can do it. It just pours out of me. And then other days,
10,000.
like I'm writing a book at the moment and I just can't find the words.
It happens.
Yeah.
It
How do you
happens.
deal with it?
If you do it frequently, I mean, it gets kind of habit. It's like walking or like eating. I mean, you have to eat every day because it's a kind of habit. And writing is like that. If you do it every day, you will do it every day again.
So I kind of have to force myself a bit.
Yeah, and just have to distract yourself from other things.
Yeah.
Distraction is the only enemy of
difficult in election season and with a 5-year-old. Now, looking back at your career and all these various sort of areas you've excelled in and worked in, what is the legacy you want to leave? You know, what's the purpose?
It's too early for me
behind
to talk about legacy. Do I look so?
No, not at all. But, you know, okay, I am 38. I hope that I leave something that my daughter's proud of, you know, and that will inspire her to remain in the country. That's my reason for doing what I do. So I don't think we're too old to think about, you know, what the intention behind our work is, you know, how we might be remembered.
Books. I mean, this is what I like. I want to have plenty of books so people could read them and my kids say, yeah, our father was a good writer.
Well, actually, I think your books, I mean, have certainly been a bit prophetic. The one Complotti, for example, this...
You haven't read it, yeah?
I've read some of it, but I'm struggling because it's in Albania at the moment. But I know the story. I know. I know the story.
If I still was in the Euronews, I would ask from you to make the podcast in Albanian. And you have to do it someday.
I should.
You should do it someday.
But what about the foreign viewers?
You have to do subtitles. Subtitles, yeah.
But I do a mix. I do, you know, when I go out and do interviews.
Anyway, about comploding.
Yes, tell me. Because you wrote about this. And
you were at the Libra, you told me.
I remember.
At the Libra ship yesterday.
But then a few weeks later, this, I don't know if it was a few weeks or a few months later, that deal with Italy was signed about, you know, more migrants coming. And it was really interesting from my point of view as well. You know, I've grown up in a multicultural society. We have Asian mayors and we've had Asian prime ministers and everything, you know. But this idea of having maybe an Afghan origin mayor or politician and this intercultural mixing is very alien here.
Yeah, this is one of the few cases when photography helps writing. I was going in Shenzhen 3 years ago to make pictures of some Afghan living there. Because, you know, when the Taliban took Afghanistan in 2021, to 2021, August, the Americans left Afghanistan. And they took with them thousands of Afghanis being teachers or being spies or being people working for the embassies, working for them. Because they were afraid if they kept them, I mean, the Taliban kept them, they'll kill them and they'll take information from them. So they took them 3,000, I don't know, maybe more. Not too many countries accepted the Afghanis at that time. The Albanian government did well, and they accepted them. And some 2,000 probably were living in Shenzhen, in the hotels of Shenzhen. Americans were paying, and they're still living there. Yeah. And what they do there is they don't work, but their kids are sent to school.
Yes.
So the main school of Shenzhen is divided into 2 terms. I mean, by midday, the Albanians go there. By afternoon, the Afghanis go. This is how they share the same school. Yeah. And I was picturing girls and boys and women and men there, and talking to them, and talking to Albanians living in Shenzhen. I was thinking, what happens if America doesn't take them? And it's happening.
Which is happening.
Which is happening because Trump decided not to take them anymore. So he froze this process of vetting, and they are still there. Yes. Some hundreds, I don't know.
More have come, actually. It's acted as a pull factor.
So taking pictures from them, I was thinking, if they remain in Albania and they have very, they give birth to many children now. So their birth rate is 1 to 4, from 1 to 5. Ours is decreasing. 1 to 1.3 or 0.6. So if they stay in Shenzhen, what happens in 20 years? They'll become a majority. Yeah. And if they become a majority, the mayor will be Afghani. This is how my book was taking some light. And what was the reaction? So I created the book by taking pictures, by photography. There. What was the reaction to that? I can imagine there were a few, you know, it's a touchy subject. Albanians are very proud to be Albanian, and this idea of this sort of ethnic mixing and having a mayor that's maybe African. I can imagine not everyone reacted. Yeah, the book explains this. I mean, the book explains how how the two communities tried to emerge, but they couldn't. And the Afghans became so powerful because they had the mayor. I mean, in my book, of course, it's a fiction.
Yes.
Happening in 2044, so 20 years from now. And the Afghans in the book, I mean, they became so powerful. They took the municipality, and after the guy who was running the municipality, he became Minister of Defense of Albania. And after becoming Minister of Defense, he created a small Afghan army. And they said, we cannot go back to Afghanistan. Let's take a new Afghanistan, a small Afghanistan in the middle of Europe. And this was their dream. And they tried to do it, and they had some clash with the Albanians. And this is how the book explains. But they couldn't, of course. The Albanians were much more smarter in the book. But there's nothing to,
I mean, the creation of a state, you know, maybe
the
this
Afghans
is definitely fiction.
could not do it.
But the rest is sort of prophetic in a way, you know. It is what is probably going to happen.
So, in the book, we could keep our country, at least.
Yes.
Yeah, it was not taken from us.
But like,
although I have nothing against them.
No.
I'm very pro that we can take immigrants. And some days it will happen, of course.
I spend a lot of time in Shenzhen. I see them in the shop speaking some words of Albanian now, and the local people.
I think they're acclimatized now. Shenzhenis.
Yeah.
They start to have taxis. They start to have small shops.
Yes.
They're going to have teachers there.
I see them. They have like kids clubs. They play volleyball on the beach and things. There's activities. They always say hello as well, like when I pass them and things like that. But I do see it as prophetic in a way, because Albania has not had sort of waves of migration like other countries have. You know, now we're seeing a lot more people coming from India and Bangladesh for work, for the Philippines.
We'll have more. In 10 years, we'll be more.
Yeah. So
if you go to Durrës, most of the restaurants there have even Filipinos and Indonesians, but especially Filipinos. Filipinos working as waiters and chiefs and I mean, part of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And I was in Durrës probably a month ago, and I was photographing in the beach, and they were constructing a new road, and there was a Albanian company doing it. And out of probably 6 workers, 4 were Bangladeshi, because I asked them, and they were dark skin, you know.
Visibly, yeah.
Yeah, and I asked them, and they said, we are from Bangladesh. And we're 6 workers, out of 6, 4 were Bangladeshis. Yeah. This will be Albania in 10 years and 20 years maybe.
Yeah.
Will be, I mean, even the studio will have people coming from other areas. Yeah. It will be difficult, but it's necessary. But
this is the thing, with so many Albanians leaving and these new communities being formed here, do you see we might be facing problems like in other parts of Europe in the future? Is there a risk of losing the Albanian identity? Is it too late to...
No, but we are, I mean, every country, every people in the world, they think they're specific. But we have, as Albanians, we have such a strong, potential of keeping our identity through centuries.
Yes.
We could lose our identity 5 centuries ago when Turks came in. We could lose it through the Middle Ages when we almost lost our language, but we kept it. So we know how to survive. And I don't think we'll lose it. I mean, we'll be part of Europe, and with a bigger, grander Europe, probably we'll have our European identity. That's enough. That's fine.
There was a quote, I can't remember who it was, but it was along the lines of empires come and go, but the Albanians go on forever. I'm paraphrasing slightly.
Yeah,
but
you become Albanian now.
I am Albanian citizen.
You're proud of it.
Yeah, very, very. It's a great. I'm waiting for the actual passport in my hands and to vote as well.
Yeah, imagine if in 10 years a right-wing party comes in and they expel you to Great Britain. They say, you have to go. You're a foreigner. What do you do?
I protest.
You go
refuse
to fight.
go.
You go
of
to
course
fight.
I would.
Yeah.
I wouldn't allow it.
You wouldn't allow to send you to Britain.
Make me leave.
It will happen someday.
Yeah.
I mean, rightist party will come in, but it's normal. It's part of politics.
We don't have a right-wing party as such. Even the right here are not particularly right, are they?
Because there are no social circumstances.
Yeah.
But someday there will be. Like in Britain, Nigel Farage, what he's doing.
Yeah, he's the most popular party in the UK at the moment.
Yeah, because social circumstances helped him.
Yeah.
I mean, economy, immigrants, refugees.
Yeah, migration is the big thing in the UK.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It happened, but it's normal. It's normal. It will happen.
Yeah. So it's going to happen.
After Nigel Farage, which might take Britain up, I don't know, in 3 years, who knows? A very leftist movement will come. This is how politics help.
Counteract it.
Lefts and rights, and it goes on like that. And they keeps countries in
balance.
equilibrium, in balance.
Now, I read as well, you'd said that you want to sort of double, triple your literary output. I'm wondering from that, what stories do you want to tell the most? What are burning inside you? What are topics you really want to tackle?
I don't speak about my new books normally. I have many ideas, but I don't speak about my books. But what I do most, and I like it, I like to write dystopia, dystopic works. So kind of different realities from what we perceive, from realities we don't know, and create anger and troubles in society. This book we're talking about, Complotti, the plot, is a dystopic novel.
Yes.
I mean, we don't know if it's going to happen. We don't know if Afghanis will take Albania and they try to create a small army, go into Kosovo and fight with Serbs, and go into Kavaja, because I have a part of my book is Afghanis going to Kavaja, and they occupied Kavaja. You know Kavaja, it's a beautiful city in the middle of Albania. The Afghanis went from Shenzhen and they took Kavaja, because the circumstances of the book, it was like that. I don't think it will happen, but it's a dystopic reality. Yeah. This is what I like most.
It could. It's not so far-fetched that it would never happen, but it
so this is the difference from me and I mean, people writing nowadays, even in Britain. Last year, it was an Irish writer, a young Irish writer, who's writing very good, in fact. The book was translated in Albanian, and he won the Booker Prize. I mean, the main British literature prize, by writing something dystopic.
Yeah.
So Ireland becoming a kind of communist regime. Could you imagine that? This is what he wrote. He wrote. I write same things.
I like this genre because I normally prefer non-fiction, but the dystopic, it almost could be real, and that's what I like about it. That's why I enjoy films and books of this particular genre.
Yeah.
It's interesting. In your book, Paraíso Artificial, now you talked about a world.
Artificial
paradise. Yeah, paradise. A world that's shaped by artificial intelligence. Do you think technology is going to succeed in this way? Do you think it's going to take over, especially as you wrote, sort of where God has failed? Is it going to really revolutionize our lives in this way?
Sure.
Yeah. How soon are we looking at? Like the progress AI has made from when I first heard about ChatGPT to what we can do with it today is scary.
Yeah.
And that's the tip of the iceberg.
In less than a year, yeah.
Yeah.
In less than a year. You can use ChatGPT for anything you want.
Yes.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I'm sure about it. The progress of AI will be immense in 10 or 20 years. It will change our societies forever, I think, to the point we cannot imagine. And I think it will come for the good. It might come for the bad. Who knows? I mean, probably we don't know. We cannot understand yet what's going on and who will control these powers. But it seems too that big tech, especially in America and China, this is what they're fighting for.
Yes.
For the future of AI or AI. It's not a question of money anymore, because they have so much money. It's a question of control of the world. And this is what we have to fear a little bit.
And
but I see the bright side of it. I mean, I see how the AI was going to exchange us. It made us clever, made us work better. If AI will replace labor, I mean, physical labor, it will be biggest revolution in human history, I think. Because people still working, I mean, physical labor, it's kind of slavery.
Yeah.
And if robots will take on humans, I mean, you can be a journalist still, but a taxi driver doing the physical work, why should I have taxi drivers anymore? We can have driverless cars, and it's like a machine. You enter your destination and it sends there, and you pay your money with a credit card, and he goes whatever he wants. Why should I have drivers? Why should I have, pilots?
But what about authors and journalists being under threat? You can just add a couple of prompts.
I tried it. Sometimes.
How did it go?
It's not better than me. No. Not yet. Not yet. But it could be on use. I mean, if you're in love, I say it sometimes when I make big talks with people in different cities of Albania, and I want to make it funny. I ask people, ask young guys in the auditorium, and I say, if you're in love, you can use ChatGPT to be better. And they say, wow, just put her name of the girl, and you can have the most beautiful poetry, personalized. And you can send it to her as if you did it.
Yeah.
So in a way, ChatGPT, the artificial intelligence, in 10 years, it will be much smarter and more clever. It probably will have some spirit, you know? If you can produce art, you can have some spirit. It can have some spirit, I don't know. Probably it will never have conscience.
Yeah, that's the...
This will be risky if they have conscience.
Yeah, that's where it becomes dangerous.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you one question about your political past, and then we're going to go back to the creative things, because it all ties in together. I want to ask you, would you ever consider going back into politics?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so.
The creative way is the way forward for you?
I don't think so. I enjoyed it when I was there, and I had lots of troubles and a lot of struggles. I was fighting most of the time, so I don't want to do it again.
So my next question is, how has your experience in politics influenced your photography and also your writing, if it has?
Sometimes it had, yeah. Yeah, sometimes it had. I had 2 political novels 10 years ago. One of those was very successful. I mean, it was too much talk about it. It was kind of bestseller, yeah. About Elbasan. Elbasan is a city very close to where we are. It's 10 minutes from here. And I was writing a novel 2015, probably, 10 years ago, called The Candidate. And it tells about the candidate for the municipality.
Yeah.
He was running, the mayor, he was running for 4 or 5 times, and he was almost old. 2 weeks before the elections, he died. And his family decided to still go on the race, despite the fact that the candidate was dead. And they took some spin doctor from Tirana, which is a very, lovely subject for me. I used him in many books. And he, in a way, went to Elbasan, and he managed that the dead guy be voted. The dead guy was voted for mayor. So the city voted for a dead guy.
Yes.
It became very famous because most of the time Albanians think they're voting for dead guys, for people who have nothing to give to them. It's a kind of metaphor, understand? Yeah. But most of the Albanians, if you ask them today, they think they're voting for people who are useful, because they cannot do anything anymore. They are dead. I mean, politically dead. I mean, this is the novel I had. So politics did influence my writings.
I think maybe the some of the cynicism from your experience in politics as well has shown in this.
Because at that time, I've been MP in Elbasan. I was chosen in this city. I mean, I was elected in this city.
Yes.
So the novel was kind of scandalistic.
Yeah. They were reading it thinking, what's true, what's fiction?
And the mayor at that time of Elbasan is dead now. He's really dead.
You can write a sequel.
He hindered. He hindered all the libraries not to sell it.
Really?
The book was not sold in Elbasan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's an impact, isn't it? You know you're doing something right if they ban your book.
Yeah, that's good.
Now, your recent exhibition, Unknown Albanians, the translation in English, 42 images taken throughout the country on your adventures. I've seen it and I know the answer to this question. Can you explain a bit about the concept, what was behind it, and the process you followed to put it together? How long it took to gather these pictures?
Almost 3 years. I mean, it's a 3-year work. And in the last 3 years since I started to make photography, I probably have some 50,000 pictures taken. Yeah. And out of 50,000, we chose some 40. So you can make 10,000 photographs, none of them is worth. You can make just one. It might be beautiful.
Yes.
So photography is very delicate nowadays. And especially nowadays, it's very difficult to be a photographer, and to be a good photographer, to have an eye, because everybody's becoming a photographer.
Yeah.
50 years ago, the photographers were like, the dearest guy in town. You know why? Because politicians and rich people, but especially politicians, going to campaign. There was no television. How do people recognize whom they're voting for? By photography, being printed in the newspapers. Because there were no televisions, there was newspapers and photography. I was reading a book about Hitler. You know who was the most most closest friend he had? His personal photographer. He was taking him everywhere, because Hitler wanted to be photography was to be wanted to be a photographer, to get photography, in a way, kind of to become kind of leader. So people see him as a leader. And he was using the photography, telling him how to make him his photographies. So nowadays, the competition is much more big because anyone is becoming a photographer. You have a camera, I have a camera, anybody has a camera.
You could have no experience and just be lucky.
Anybody can do it. Yeah, anybody can do it. So being so in such a big market of competition, it's so difficult to have good photography. I told you in the beginning, I'm not a photographer. I'm a curious guy. I go all over and I shoot. This is what I do. But this exhibition, it was lucky, and people are enjoying it.
Yes.
Many people writing me every day, I like it and I like it. It was kind of, surprise. Because I tell you, because in Albania, we have a tradition of photography in the last 100 years. But not too much in the street photography, as I told you.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, normally if you see exposition, you see, good images of Albania, castles, beaches, old towns, old villages, but you don't see people, real people. This is real people, what I'm showing. They might be poor, they might be happy, they might be crying, they might be divorcing. This is what I show.
And this is what I liked about your exhibition, actually. They were street photographs taken while you're just out and about, not posed, but some of them are extremely intimate. Like, it's like you've captured a moment that I'd almost feel awkward to have captured, not in a bad way, but when you look at them and you think, wow, that was a second that person didn't know. It's so intimate. You can see into their soul, and you feel a bit like you've sort of taken a part of them, but that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That you've managed to capture this while just doing it on an ad hoc basis, because some of those pictures, you look at them and you think, wow, that is almost, you would have to get someone to pose for that because they're so intimate. And you've captured the moment at exactly the right, like the girls on the steps when they're sort of about to kiss each other, or the couple.
They're staged, they know.
Okay, but the girl and the boy, and I think she's leaning against a pillar, and they're definitely talking about their relationship or something.
Sure.
They're not.
They don't know. They don't know that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, probably 100 meters from them, and they haven't seen me. No, they haven't seen me. It's just natural.
Have they seen the picture? Have they?
I don't know. That's a big one. You've seen it.
Yeah. I was like, they're definitely about to break up, or he's done something wrong. It was a really personal moment. And the guy on the bus, and you see his face looking through the window, and he just looks. There's just this emotion in his face, and it's such a raw moment you've captured for him.
I like you. You enjoyed it.
Yes, I did. My daughter did as well. She liked it. Actually, I've just bought a new camera now because I want to. I've been taking just with this, but I want to step things up a little bit.
This is good, but the camera is better, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
It's much
the
more
quality, the things. Now, your photos are often, normally, and definitely in this exhibition, they're all in black and white. Is that by choice? And what do you think that taking away color reveals?
I don't know that. Many people ask me about it, but I enjoy black and white still. And when I mean, normally when you take pictures, it's in colors. Through a computer, you do it black and white through the app. But I don't take even if I see pictures of other big photographers, I enjoy all them black and white. I don't know why. I mean, I like it. I like it. It expresses the human nature, I think, better than colors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe because it strips away some distraction you get from color.
I don't know.
Things like that. Because sometimes, when I've played with photos, I've liked the color version, then I put it in black and white, and it's a completely different image.
It's different, yeah.
Or there's an image I hate.
I made you a picture. I made a picture.
Yes, you did.
It was in black and white, yeah?
Yes, it was a black and white picture.
The one in black and white is better than the one in colors.
Yeah.
I did it.
Yes, at the back here.
Yeah, back here, yeah.
So this is it often reveals a lot, but I can't put my finger on why. What's the most difficult subject, person, place, moment you've ever tried to photograph?
I told you I was once in Kavaya, which is a very, ethical city, and the people I love them. They know how to behave, and they're very welcoming. And I was taking photography in a very small, narrow street. It was a kind of winter afternoon. And I saw got a motorcycle in the street, and I was trying to, because what I do, it's trying to combine things with people. You can take a beautiful car, but it's nothing. It's no photography. But if you show a guy on top of that beautiful car, and it was just sitting there, and or probably making a hang of a comb or probably writing something on top of the car. It's a beautiful photography. So I was seeing a motorcycle parked in the street, and I was trying to wait so somebody comes in. So I have both, the motorcycle and the guy. And the guy who comes, who used to be the owner, he was shouting at me, saying, why are you photographing here? And he was shouting, I was still taking pictures. And he came in front of me and said, I'll kill you. He was kind of mad guy. And when he said so, I became mad, of course, because I'm a man. And I was almost going to clash with him. Then some neighbors came and they recognized me, and we became friends afterwards. But he was so angry. I mean, he was almost taking a knife out of his pocket. So he was, kind of mad,
Yeah.
I don't know, but it never happened to me. I mean, there are lots of women, especially in Muslim.
Yes. They don't want
burqa. They don't want to get photographed. But the rest,
I've had it in some northern areas, more rural areas. They don't want their faces anywhere. Men and women, they're very sort of...
It depends. I've been shooting in Africa. It's worse. In Africa, they ask you for money. Yeah, I've been shooting a lot in Africa, in Kenya, Morocco, Egypt. They ask you for money. And if you pay, they're not the same. Because they're not natural. They become actors.
I had this actually with the documentary I wanted to do about blood feuds. They asked me for money, and I said, or food or donations, and I said, maybe I would have probably, if I'd seen the state you were in, I would have done something afterwards. But if you want it
it's
before,
not natural.
It changes everything.
Yeah, but they become actors.
No, I had it once. I took a picture of a man in leisure. He was a fruit seller, and he was sat on a pile of boxes, and it was by the old stadium, and it was a beautiful picture. And he was not dressed, he was obviously quite a not very well-off man, and he was sat there sort of like this with a bit of his hip exposed, And I put the picture online. I thought it was a beautiful picture. I have no judgment. I was not laughing. I didn't think it was funny. I didn't feel pity. It was just a beautiful picture of everyday life. And one of his family members contacted me and sent me so much abuse and threats, take it down, you're humiliating him, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I literally think it's beautiful. Like, I like, it's art to me. This is not humiliation, or I took it down in the end because they were threatening me.
Yeah, it happened to me in Kenya, in Nairobi. I was walking in the streets of Nairobi, central Nairobi, which is very wild. And I saw two girls kissing. They're very intimate. But I couldn't take a photograph out of them. And I said, please kiss again so I can make a picture. They said, no. If you pay, we'll do it. I was enjoying this moment so much. So okay, I'll pay you. And I gave them the money, and they kissed again for half an hour maybe for me. None of these pictures was worth.
No.
Because the kiss, it was not the same.
It was fake.
As a natural one, yeah. So I didn't use these pictures. Yeah.
Your exhibition's open till the end of the month?
Yeah, till the 30th.
But what's next after this exhibition? In books, I know you can't reveal too much, but also for photography, are you continuing with this type?
I have an album, but unfortunately I couldn't, you can show it. I have an album published 2 weeks ago. It's on all libraries of Tirana, in arenas also, called Unknown Albanians. It's in English, and both English and Albanian.
Oh, great.
Most of these pictures, which are 42 in my exhibition, are in the album. The album is bigger. It says 69 pictures, because at Code, there's not too much space to exhibit that much. So I have a new book done.
Great.
After that, I don't know. I hope the exhibition can go in different cities of Albania, like Shkodër, Vlorë, Korç, Durrës. I hope. Unfortunately, there are not enough spaces even in galleries. But I'll try.
And are you going to continue with this type of photography?
I will. Yeah, I will. Yeah, I will. I have some ideas, yeah.
Yes?
I have some ideas.
You're going to share
But writing is killing my time.
When's your next book coming?
Normally in November.
November.
Yeah, as always.
Book fair.
Normally.
Any hints, any clues?
I cannot. This is what I don't do.
No, I have to ask. It's my job to ask.
I never do it. I mean, I'm kind of superstitious on it.
Yes.
People ask me, what are you writing? And if I tell, the book is dead.
And also, as a writer, as a creative, it might change between now and when it gets published. It does for me sometimes. The story changes halfway through.
No, I finished my book. It's already finished. Yeah, it's already finished. But I review it before I send to the printing house, and something could be not change, but smoothen. Let's see. Edit it.
We'll be looking out for it. Thank you, Ben.
Hopefully.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Alice.
Now, on the topic of defence, over the last 12 years, the Albanian defence sector has seen an increase in investment of some 250 million euros. Military staff have seen their average salary increase by 164%, and there's been a five-fold increase in recruitment. Now, in the current geopolitical situation in Albania and the region, it's safe to say that Albania is reprioritising its defence sector. I spoke with Defence Minister Pirro Vengu about the biggest threats to the country and the region, the role of the EU and NATO, and what lies ahead. Minister, thank you so much for joining me today aboard the Vespucci. Now, we were here yesterday as well, and there was something quite special that happened yesterday. Can you give us an overview of what went down yesterday?
Well, thanks first of all for being here and for accompanying us throughout the day. Actually, what happened yesterday aboard the Vespucci and aboard the Libra were two very important agreements. First of all, we have been working together with my colleague Guido Crosetto, and both governments, in fact, have supported us in this endeavor. We have been working on beginning a deal and a conversation and a negotiation, essentially, about the revival of our naval industry down south in Pashaliman. And this 8-month effort basically culminated yesterday in the signing ceremony of the first memorandum of understanding between Fincantieri, which is a giant, a European giant of naval production, a military vessel essentially, but also civilian ones. And we're ambitioning together, Fincantieri and Caio, the government-owned military production company, to create a joint venture which essentially will allow us to produce vessels down in Pashaliman. First of all, military vessels for our own needs. We have entered a new period of very capital-intensive efforts within our military forces and predominantly also in our Navy. And we need to build new vessels, essentially. But also with the ambition to have that production facility cater to also civilian needs, because essentially our strategy when it comes to defense spending, whenever we do some important spending and investment in defense, we also try to cater to civilian needs. As a small NATO, modest NATO ally, I think that's the good strategy forward when it comes to defense spending.
But
So
Albania got quite a big present yesterday. A gift, so to speak.
That's the second. That's the second element of this very strategic relation we have embarked upon between Albania and Italy. Yesterday was concluded the donation act, basically, of one military vessel of the Italian naval forces that will be donated to our naval forces. That will serve a twofold purpose. The first purpose is basically to allow our own officers and cadets to familiarize themselves with military ships of this magnitude, and basically help us transition out of a naval force that, after communism, essentially has done mainly Coast Guard operations, into basically transforming it into a proper naval force. We are increasingly supporting both EU and NATO missions throughout the Mediterranean with our naval forces, and we ambition to take more responsibility. This comes by better training of officers and cadets, and also by this transition I mentioned from a Coast Guard to a naval force. And this donation essentially will help us do exactly that.
Now, I have another little side question. It's called the Libra at the moment. Any ideas what it might be renamed?
Oh, that's a very
this
good
is the
question.
important bit, you know?
That's a very good question. Well, we know for sure it will be renamed.
Yes.
In the next couple of months, basically, we're going to send groups of officers, or naval officers and cadets on board to get the proper training. And once it will be fully delivered to our forces, we will have the, let's say, the ceremony the proper ceremony as the tradition foresees. Now, we don't have a final name. There are a few candidates.
Yes.
There are people that think of very symbolic names that have to do with our, national pride or national figures. There are other people thinking about, taking the name of a city. It used to be a tradition in the naval forces long time ago. We'll make sure to do a thorough process and get everybody's opinion, but I don't have a name for you.
Can I put a suggestion for
You
Teuta,
certainly-
please? I love that name. I wanted to call my daughter Teuta, but I was outvoted. And also because we're in Dures as well. So that's my proposal.
We're in
the
Dures, but it needs to be, to be a representative of the whole country. Point taken. That certainly might be considered as a candidate, but I cannot.
You can't commit at this time.
That.
No, that's fair enough. Now, obviously, this gift from Italy and these agreements that were signed. It signifies a very strong relationship between the two countries. But talking of cooperation with other countries, recently it made news internationally. The trilateral agreement, which was signed between Albania, Kosovo, and Croatia, and there's been quite a lot of talk about it. And I want to hear from the horse's mouth, so to speak. How did this deal come about? What was the need? And in concrete terms, what is it hoping to achieve?
Well, first of all, thanks for asking. First of all, it has been in preparation for quite some time, over a year. And second, it comes as a very natural thing to do amongst allies that have a common view of both the challenges, both the threats that the region, Southeast Europe in general, more specifically the Western Balkans, are facing. Both in terms of hybrid threats, of third-party, non-European, non-NATO parties that have an interest or have an interest in destabilizing the region. And it came very naturally since both the three countries, basically, Albania, Croatia, and Kosovo, share the same view with regard to the threats. Second item that made it necessary to have that agreement, the three countries are ambitioning to revive their own military industries.
Okay.
As an overall
Shared goal.
all over Europe, throughout the transatlantic community. And we thought that we had both to learn from each other, but also maybe to enter into initiatives that are both supported both by the EU Strategic Compass and NATO Strategic Compass, in the sense of joining forces for common procurement, joining forces for common innovation programs that could also receive common funding for common instruments of funding. So this was the second element, and the third element has to do with better interoperability and better coordination between our armed forces, better training and more systematic, let's say, training and exercises between our academic military academia, and elements that have to do with the coordination of exercises of the three militaries. So it came as a very logical step, a very natural step, and a very sensible one, because the three countries are also invested under the NATO umbrella and under the EU's, let's say, principles for the stability of the region into, investing in stability. And we thought that it was the best moment to provide that commitment and that statement together.
There was quite a visceral response from Serbia when it was first announced. They didn't seem particularly pleased about it. And then in Croatia, the Prime Minister, I think it was the Prime Minister, he said, I don't need permission from Serbia to join initiatives. Were you expecting a response like that from Serbia? How did you sort of deal with it?
We didn't do this agreement by thinking what would Serbia react or what would Serbia do. It doesn't work like that. I concur with what both my colleagues, the Kosovo colleague and the Croatian colleague, I said that we don't need permission. No. Second of all, this type of agreements are encouraged both by the NATO treaty, the North Atlantic Treaty, that basically encourage member states to come together and build smaller initiatives within the NATO umbrella. Third, Kosovo, Croatia, and Albania share the same opinion that NATO and substantially KFOR, the Kosovo force, NATO's Kosovo force, is the best security guarantor for Kosovo and for the region as well. So basically, I struggle to understand Serbia's reaction because over the past 2 years, whenever we had the regional table on defense, whenever we chaired the regional initiative, they chose to have an empty chair policy. And they cannot ask us to be consulted if they don't participate
They don't turn up.
in this regional forum. So at the same time, what I'm reading, not only by what the concerns the Serbian government voiced, but also the fact that the Serbian president went to have a consultation with the NATO Secretary General. We read that as a positive sign, which basically they're acknowledging the importance of NATO and KFOR into the security of
kind
Kosovo.
of backfired in a way.
And this is precisely what our government and the governments of Croatia and Kosovo are pushing for. So basically, an acknowledgement of NATO's importance in the region.
Yes.
Require more vigilance from NATO in the region, regardless of what the eastern preoccupations in Ukraine and Russia mean for the whole transatlantic community. We have been pushing consistently for not letting the Western Balkans out of sight, and I think that the reaction overall has not been that dramatic in that sense. And personally, I think that we have received signs now that Serbia is ready to engage with NATO more. So overall, I think it's a win-win.
So we have Kosovo, it's not in the United Nations, it's not in the Council of Europe, it's EU membership, it's applied, but it's just sort of been ghosted, really. And obviously NATO, it's not going to be joining NATO anytime soon. Are these sort of agreements, like the one with Croatia and Albania, are these sort of plugging a gap in a way, sort of bringing it into a fold, offering it protections and opportunities that it's currently not able to get in these other institutions?
Well, fair point. There's certainly an element into this agreement whereby both Albania and Croatia strongly commit for Kosovo's integration both in the transatlantic fora, namely NATO and EU, but also into the regional initiatives which are practically a step towards that accession. And it's the first time that Croatia joins us that vocally.
Yes.
And in a very principled way, in a very firm commitment, and I think that's a good message. And we have been advocating for a very long time now that we think as Albania and as Albanians overall, because we have a dual cap in Albania, we think in terms of a NATO ally, as we are, but we are also the gravitational, let's say, pole when it comes to the interests of the Albanian throughout the region. And we think about Albanians in Kosovo, Albanians in North Macedonia, Albanians in southern Serbia, Albanians in Montenegro. And we have all these Albanians in mind whenever we endeavor to do a regional initiative. And our strong position has always been that both NATO and EU should acknowledge certain realities when it comes to Kosovo's statehood, including the reality of the Kosovo security forces, which we think are probably the best ally both KFOR and the EU have in Kosovo when it comes to securing stability, securing every element of a functioning state. So we have been advocating that around the NATO table consistently.
Yes.
And Croatia has very happily joined us into that effort of requesting to the rest of our allies and proposing to the rest of our allies to having a more pragmatic approach, regardless of the fact that some allies don't recognize Kosovo and don't recognize their armed forces.
Now, talking about security in the region, I see Albania as quite a neutral country, quite diplomatic. It tends to bring countries together rather than push them apart in quite a volatile area. That's just my perception. And I'm wondering, what do you see as the biggest threats to Albania's security? Is it hybrid sort of warfare, hacking, this sort of thing, cyber? I don't see the threat of invasion being particularly high on the list. We don't seem to have as much Russian influence as some neighbouring countries either. I'm wondering, from your perspective, in 2025, what are the biggest threats you see?
Well, you said that certainly Albania is safer from in comparison to other countries in the region, from the perspective of foreign influence, for the perspective of third-party threats. But even that's to some extent true, I wouldn't underestimate such type of threats, even for Albania.
Yeah.
So the hybrid warfare is something that we have been dealing with consistently. Cyber attacks. Cyber has become a daily battle, essentially, even if it's a way of the eyes of the citizens, but
Yes.
and it happens sort of in the background, in the shadows, but it's a daily effort. And second element, there are elements of disinformation campaigns that have consistently been pushed forward by third parties, be it Iran, be it Russia, as in the rest of the region. So we are not safe, totally safe from this type of endeavors and attempts. What I would identify as the principal threat, though, has rather to do with how Europe itself views its future in terms of security and defense. Since the main stakeholder in our alliance, namely the United States, has consistently been requesting for more efforts, more burden sharing, and
threatening to withdraw certain things.
I mean, this is something that is consistent with also the first Trump administration, which I personally believe has allowed NATO to wake up to a certain extent.
But I guess there's opportunities that are presented there as well. Europe is short on ammunition. Countries can't scale up in time. They don't have the resources. There isn't the will. They can't decide. They want defence to be sovereign. They don't want to work as a group. There are lots of problems in defence at the EU level. Albania has some plans, some ambitions for this Made in Albania, for producing uniforms and military weapons and ammunition. We've had a military vehicle, Shota, made recently by a private company. Can we talk a bit about what Albania is planning to do or hoping to do to be a part of Europe becoming more self-sufficient?
It's the overall perspective around the NATO nations is that the industry needs to, the military industry needs to show up in terms of delivering faster, delivering more, and delivering in a more efficient way. And that's what I would define as the second biggest threat and risk right now, is the inability of the industry, at least from this side of the Atlantic, to provide the necessary backing whenever we procure new equipment. And if we compare that to the threats I mentioned earlier, and countries that have, let's say, a pyramid whereby they can turn the war economy engine faster than the rest of the alliance, I think this is a second element of risk. So consistently around the NATO table, we have agreeing on plans, on capability targets, but we realize that these are things that take probably decades to achieve. So Albania, in its own, on its own at least, is attempting to revitalize the national dormant military production capabilities. We passed a new law last year, mid of last year, for military industry to incentivize it, to provide some fiscal tools, some incentives for military contractors, foreign investors, to revive old plans in the country. We have regrouped all these old plants into a holding company, a government-owned company, Caio, which is the company that signed yesterday this deal with Fincantieri on precisely to build a joint venture, a jointly owned Italian-Albanian company for the production of military vessels. And we will keep doing this with other contractors. We have received approximately 21 expressions of interest. We are negotiating with 5 of them for the production of ammunition, for the production of uniforms, for the production of vehicles, for the production also of military drones. So these are our, let's say, low-hanging fruits that await in the future.
Are you allowed to give us any information on the countries that some of these expressions of interest have come from?
The big majority come from NATO countries.
Okay.
We also have some Middle Eastern interest and also local companies. You mentioned Shota. As a matter of fact, we are in discussions with their company to also have a joint initiatives on the production of vehicles, basically, that could have also dual use, not only military ones, but also civilian ones. And this is precisely what we are trying to achieve through this increased defense spending. Because at the end of the day, for countries that have also big needs, such as Albania, in education, healthcare, social equality, there's a lot of spending into that as well. So when we think about defense spending, we think of it as a reindustrialization instrument, basically. So it has to have an effect on the local ecosystem, workforce, education, educating our youth, basically engineering, innovating into these elements of military, let's say, production. And the analysis we've done is that a job in military production basically creates 3 jobs in the civilian ecosystem that support that military production. Logistics, services, and whatnot. So overall, whenever we spend a cent in defense, we make sure that it has an implication in economic growth and in a civilian capacity.
Do we have any timelines? You said you're in sort of discussion stage at the moment.
The first step was yesterday with Fincantieri, that was after an 8-month discussion. I believe that by the end of the month we might have 2 other good news.
Right.
As we ambition to also revive our aviation school.
Interesting. Where will this be?
Well, you'll have to wait a couple of weeks for
secrets.
that. But it's certainly an ambition, and we have this ambition on the military vehicles that we want to put forth as soon as possible, because it's a real need, and we feel it's also a potential for export. So there's great potential in every item you mentioned. We think that there's a potential for export, because at the end of the day, if we build locally, we wanted to build sustainably for export.
Pirro, thank you very much. And if you need any naming suggestions, I have a long list. So don't be shy to ask me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alice. Thank you. Thanks.
That's all for this week. You can catch Inside Albania every Saturday at 4 o'clock on Euronews Albania, on demand on our YouTube channel and across all major podcasting platforms. Until next week, Mbrojtjes.